Hello, Bible readers. I started reading Psalm 51, and I immediately found myself feeling like a child again, worshiping from the Lutheran Book of Worship. When the offering was brought forward, I remember this as a kid, we would sing every week. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with your free spirit. Then we'd go into the offering prayer and whatever came after that. For so many Psalms, I've been studying them and have to imagine how maybe they were used in a worship setting thousands of years ago in a culture I can't fully understand. I have to imagine what they may have meant to worshipers, how they maybe made people feel. But with Psalm 51, and it has to be noted that having a tune to go along with the words is really helpful. That would be the case for any lyric, right, to come to life. But having Psalm 51 in my soul already, or at least parts of it, I have a real sense for what a psalm in general can do in my spiritual imagination, and what this psalm in particular does. That we would use it as our offering response every week. That was not only the result of a pastor who planned worship in a less than very creative way. Although I must admit there wasn't a whole lot of creativity or variation going on in the church where I grew up. It was pretty much the same, like every week for as long as I worshiped there. But there actually is something to the idea of singing the same psalm at the same spot in worship every single week. For me, it's something similar to eating breakfast. You know, maybe the same breakfast most days at the same time most days. My body knew growing up when breakfast time had come. And cereal was what I had, the same cereal. And it worked. I was fed every time. Well, that's kind of how this psalm response worked for me and is meant to work for a worshiping community. And the rest of the liturgy, that's how it is meant to work too. I'd get to Sunday, my soul would be hungry to sing the things, to connect with God in, similar ways to it had in the weeks before, and in similar ways to what I expected in the weeks to come. Psalm 51 was an important part of that weekly feeding. As for what it said, Psalm 51 in particular, I mean, the reason the church uses Psalm 51 in such an important spot as when the offering is presented at the Holy Communion altar table is because this is as good as the penitential psalms get. This is the fourth one that we've looked at so far. There are seven. It joins Psalm 6, 32, 38. It's going to be a while till we come across another of the penitential psalms, Psalm 102, Psalm 130, and 143. The Christian tradition likes the way these psalms, that are not connected in any really other formal way. It's not like they all have the same author or are all from the same, era or anything like that, but they do all include some kind of consideration of confession and forgiveness. Psalm 51 has a superscription that right away offers context to what the psalmist is claiming and offering, that this is a psalm of David when the prophet Nathan came to him after he'd gone into Bathsheba. Jews and Christians alike understand this is one of the greatest examples of selfish sin in all of the Old Testament, and done by David himself, the anointed king who should know better, who should be better. This context lifts up the profile then of what is already a powerful psalm, A few deep dive kind of things to note. The shape of Psalm 51 is a drama that traces the route from an old life of alienation, that is separation from God. That's how Christians typically describe sin. So from an old life of alienation to a new life of glad relationship with God, right? So from alienation to relationship. And that route is not a path to be climbed by the sinner. That's a really important point here. You know, it's not that I did something bad, so now I have to do this, that, and the other in order to get into God's good graces. The restored relationship depends completely on the readiness of God to create, restore, sustain, deliver. Those are the wonderful, powerful verbs of Psalm 51 that are used in the psalmist's petitions. Create in me, restore in me, sustain me, deliver me. What is required of the psalmist, and there's nothing the psalmist can do to like reach God, to earn forgiveness in this psalm. What is required of the psalmist is simply candor. Here's what I did. Here's who I am. Here's how I'm stuck. But the psalmist and any confessing sinner is at the mercy of God's readiness to create again, at the mercy of God's willingness to bring new life. And that's why the very first thing the psalmist says is, have mercy on me, God, according to your steadfast love. Like, deal with me according to your steadfast love. I know what you can do, what you're capable of. Here's who I am. Have mercy. The psalmist starts there because in the end, that's the only place we can be. No matter how many sacrifices we offer, how sorry we feel, how much we want God to forgive us, in the end, forgiveness, renewal, grace, it is God's to give or not. Which is why many worship services begin with that ancient Kyrie song, Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy. I am one with my God is with us, all of us, at all times, in all places.